Whoever you are, whatever you know, nothing in your experience could ever prepare you for the horror of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Today we're going to be looking at the original 1986 VHS release by Media Home Entertainment of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, the original film came out in 1974, and the very first release of this on tape was in beta. The original beta release of the film has the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre poster on it, and as you can see, for the VHS release, they did a full-on brand new poster art for this film. And I have to say, out of all the different VHSs I've seen for this film, this one has to be the best looking poster of them all. The artwork for Leatherface is incredible. The review at the top, the most horrifying motion picture I've ever seen, by Rex Reed. Rex Reed, probably best known for his syndicated TV show At the Movies in the 1980s. On the sides, you can see the standard Texas Chainsaw Massacre logo. I love how these, right here, this VHS, if you can see, let's see if I can zoom in on it. It has to say horror at the bottom. But look at this artwork. This has got to be some of the most detailed poster art for a film for that time. It's really, really iconic looking. Really, really awesome. When I first bought this, probably back in 2010, I wasn't really collecting VHS tapes at the time like I am now, but I wanted this because I loved this film franchise and I thought that the VHS artwork on this just looked incredible. And at the time, this VHS tapes were still going for less than $1 a piece, so I got this probably like for 50 cents, which nowadays retails for almost like $30. There are two different versions of the Media Home Entertainment VHS tape. This one just happens to be the original. The other release of the Media Home Entertainment version of this VHS came out, I think, in 1993. I could be mistaken, but I know it's in the 1990s. It says on the back, a horror cult film based on an actual crime from the director of Poltergeist. Let's zoom in here on the movie still. If you weren't sure if you were going to rent this film back in the day, this is how you were able to tell if you wanted to see this. Now, I don't know how many parents or people in general would see this one picture and say, I think this is what I'm going to rent tonight. Luckily for me, I grew up in a time where my parents weren't really concerned about me watching horror movies, so I did see this early on. And for the time, this movie in 1974 was very scary. It was also panned by a lot of people, saying that the movie was disgusting, it was exploitive. Many of these films of this time era were panned in that same way. There are some very, very cheesy moments of the film. We all have to admit the part where the brother in the wheelchair falling down in the stairs and getting killed is pretty hilarious at the time. This film does not come with any trailers or commercials on it. It just jumps straight into the film.
For them, an idyllic summer afternoon drive became a nightmare. The events of that day were to lead to the discovery of one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Which is probably a good thing, because this film is pretty long. There are times when the film actually does get boring, at least to me. For 84 minutes, there are a lot of parts that were unnecessary that could have been cut out. Let's look at the actual VHS tape itself now. As you can see, just a standard sticker on both sides. Very, very good looking tape still. Very clean. But obviously, if you're a huge horror movie fan, this is gotta be by far one of the best looking VHS tapes in horror movies. I just really love this poster. Just a lot of detail went into this. If this was a shirt, I'm not sure if it is or not, this would be just a great shirt in general to have. Producer, director Tobe Hooper delivers a riveting study of homicidal madness and psychological terror. Now, back in 1970s, this was definitely one of the films that were pretty well known for being scary to folks. When I first saw this, I was probably in middle school, 6th or 7th grade, and it was not as scary then as it probably was when it first came out. It could be because I was already jaded by other horror films, but I can tell you that this film, while iconic, and while it started a horror revolution, definitely holds up in certain aspects, but in a lot of ways doesn't. We can all agree that this VHS tape, by itself, is a must-have if you're a VHS horror movie collector. And if you can find it, I would highly suggest picking it up. This is Forrest, and remember, be kind, rewind.